Welcome to beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. We're live. It's Hannity on the road. And for the entire hour tonight, we are joined by 2016 GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump as he now makes his way through the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump. Get old, does it?
No, it's amazing.
You know,
it's amazing.
Well, we've got a big election tomorrow here in Arizona. Yeah. Let's start where we are in the race. You are leading with 678 delegates. This is a winner-take-all state, 58 delegates. Your next closest competitor has 423, and John Kasich needs 105% of remaining delegates to actually win, which is mathematically impossible.
I don't know what's going on there, actually, but he's a little behind, yeah.
Should he stay in the race? Do you think he's staying in the race?
I don't know. Look, I mean, he's just staying in. He stays in, and you know, Rubio could have done the same thing. Could have just stayed in, but he chose not to. I think it was a wise decision. He won't back me, I can tell you that. I can't imagine he backs me. You know what, if he was smart, he'd back me. But he won't back me. Don't forget, he was the face of the Republican Party. And then we had an election in Florida. And maybe it still is. I mean, he's got a great future, do you think? Right, Rubio? No?
Let's look at...
I'm trying to be nice. Don't you understand that?
Okay. That was very good.
Who knows?
All right, I got a very important question because there's a lot of shenanigans, it seems, going on. Mitt Romney did robocalls for Kasich in Ohio, Rubio in Florida. Now he's supporting Ted Cruz. And it seems that even though mathematically John Kasich doesn't have a path to the nomination, it seems there's an effort to prevent you from getting to 1,237 delegates, and that the establishment wants to get to a convention fight on the floor and possibly bypass or disenfranchise voters and put in a consensus candidate. Now, I don't think they'll get away with it, but what are your thoughts on what you see?
Well, I think a number of things. Number one, Mitt Romney is a lost soul. I mean, he's just lost. He ought to sit back. He ought to relax. Somebody said it's the best thing that ever. I went up 10 points after he did this whole crazy thing. But he ought to relax. He lost. He had his shot. He choked. He choked very badly, and he lost. That was a race that should have been won. That was, frankly, an easier race than this race that's coming up. But I'll win. I will beat Hillary Clinton. To answer the rest of your question, though, I mean, there's something going on. You know, they want to get it into a convention, and then they'll steal it. And if, you know, I signed the pledge. To me, a pledge means something. They signed the pledge, too. I'm not sure it means very much. But to me, if it goes to the convention, and let's say I'm 50 delegates short, all right? If I'm 50 delegates short and somebody else is 500 or 600 delegates short, I don't mind that one as much as somebody else that comes out that maybe got defeated during the process, because that's what's going to happen. So I think that we are going to get there. I think we're going to get there on the delegate count, and let's see what happens. I think it's going to be good.
There's a GOP official from North Dakota, and the guy's name's Curly Hagelin. I want to quote him. He said, "The media has created the perception that voters choose the nominee, but in reality, it's the party that chooses the nominee." And if that's the case, then why would people go vote? Why do people caucus? Because...
Well, I think that's, you know, what's happening, and I think that probably over the years is what's happened. And one of the reasons I did this, look, I did this because it's really I did it for everybody, but I did it because from my standpoint, I couldn't stand when I looked at what was happening with Iran, with trade, with our military, which is being decimated. We can't even beat ISIS. With our veterans, the way we take care of them, which is non-existent. And then it turned out that a lot of people felt the same way as I did. I had no idea this was going to happen. You know, it's like a movement. Time Magazine did a cover story. It's a movement. And they've actually done 4 cover stories. But Time Magazine has really covered it very accurately, I have to be honest. I was never a huge fan. I'm becoming more and more of a fan, in all fairness. But it is a movement. And it's an incredible thing. I had no idea this was going to happen. A lot of people in your profession, they say, did you ever think this was going to happen? And the answer
You're not
is
tying
no.
me up with those people,
No,
right?
no, but I mean, honestly, both good and bad. I mean, nobody can believe what's gone on. And it is something that's very, very special. And, you know, you could call it the silent majority. You can call it the noisy majority. I mean, it's not so silent. It is not so silent, but it is definitely a majority. It's a lot of people.
Let me read a headline that came out this week. Anti-Trump groups threaten the largest civil disobedience actions in a century. This is MoveOn.org. George Soros money. Black Lives Matter. Bernie Sanders supporters. I don't know how many of you noticed in Chicago, Barack Obama's friend, the unrepentant domestic terrorist, Bill Ayers,
should be in jail.
Agree with you. He should be in jail. But this is a guy, part of a group that bombed the Pentagon, the Capitol, New York City Police headquarters, and Barack Obama started his political career in this man's house. He was a part of what happened in Chicago. You've had disruptions at various events.
And he may have written the first Barack Obama book. Do you think? Do you think?
There's certainly a different writing style.
It's a big difference between the first book and the second.
The writing style.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have said that.
Absolutely.
But here's my question. So they're coming at you hard on the left. How do you handle it?
I'm fine. I mean, you know, look, the rallies, first of all, a lot of this whole thing with, you know, the rallies, it's concocted by the media. My rallies, like I had a fantastic rally in Salt Lake City. It was so beautiful. There wasn't the room was packed. There were thousands of people outside. There was a group of protesters, but it was small. But the media, including Fox and all fairness, they made it look like it was a big group. It was a small
like 20 people.
It was like, you know, if you look at it on television, you say, oh, this is the end of the world. And it's like these guys, and if you interview them, they don't even know why they're there. You know, they don't even know. Why are you here? The guy goes, I don't know. I don't really know, but I'm here. I don't have any comment, okay? I mean, you have to see these interviews as to they don't even know why they're there. But you have professional disruptors. But if you look at my rallies, other than the one I ended in Chicago where nobody was hurt, I did the right thing, because there you had a couple of thousand disruptors or protesters, whatever you want to call them, and I had 25,000 people, and we were able to stop a lot of them from coming in. And I can't, because when I landed, the Secret Service, the police, everybody said this could be a potential problem. So we get a lot of credit, I think, for, you know, to end. I hate to do that. I hate to do that. But the end result is nobody was hurt. There was nobody hurt. But when you see the spirit of these people holding those Trump signs, these are great people. And, you know, the theme is Make America Great Again. The one thing they want is Make America Great Again. That's what they want.
I want to just take it one. I'm just going to talk process, but I want to talk about how we actually do that, the specifics of your plan. Okay. There's a Politico story this week that, you know, says they quoted all these left-wing groups: Move On, NARAL, Greenpeace.
They never quote us.
I know.
They never quote us.
I quote you. All right. A 5-alarm fire for our democracy, a threat to the America we love. Now, you had a little run-in with Hillary earlier, but
Clinton's a war criminal.
If you become the nominee, it's the same playbook every election year. Republicans are racist. Republicans are sexist. Republicans are anti-gay. Republicans want to poison the air and water and throw your grandmother over a cliff. They'll have a Donald Trump lookalike throwing Granny over the cliff. No. You know what? Republicans in the past have been absolutely impotent in dealing with those attacks. How will you deal with it?
Well, you have to deal with it very tough and very strong. Now, they came at me about 2 months ago. They sort of indicated that I was sexist, okay, which I'm absolutely not. I have tremendous respect for women. I mean, my mother... I mean, between sexist, they only hit me with the sexist, but the sexist, the racist, I'm the least racist person. Friends of mine that happen to be African American said, Donald, you're the least racist person we've ever met. Give me a break. But, and all of that.
There's a whole coalition of pastors now.
All of that's going to come out. Yeah. The pastors are, you know, I'm winning all the evangelical. I mean, Cruz doesn't know what happened. I can't say this in front of Sean, but Lion Ted doesn't know what happened. They don't like liars, you know? They don't like liars. But I mean, he lies. I never met
a shot even at me. You know?
I have never met a man that lied like Ted Cruz. I've never met a man that lied so much. And just ask Ben Carson, who, by the way, endorsed me. Isn't that nice? What he did to Ben, where he said Ben was out of the race, and in Iowa, Ben is out of the race, and he took those votes. It was disgusting. But the fact is that they hit me 2 months ago, and I hit him back very hard. And I talked about her husband because, you know, when she calls me a sexist, I mean, who's the #1 in the world, right? And I hit her back very hard, and there was dead silence from their group. It was dead. And I will tell you, I heard they had a very rough weekend. He was saying, why did you do that? And she's going, well, I did it, and it's one of those things. And then she looked at him, and she was plenty angry also.
Yeah.
But
you also said she's an enabler.
Bernie got all the credit, because that's when Bernie started, because she went down so much during that one weekend, and Bernie got all the credit. They're saying, oh, wow, Bernie's now, it wasn't that he went up. It's just that she went down big that weekend. So let's see. I will tell you, the one, I told Chuck Todd. He said, well, I've heard that Hillary wants to run against Donald Trump. I called him. I said, Chuck, let me explain. It's like a chess game, right? High masters, grandmasters. I said, Chuck, when they say they want to run against you, that means they don't want to run against you. Do you understand that? He said, well, that could be so. That could be so. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying the one person that they don't want to run against is me, because I'm going to win. And I'm going to bring states in, like New York, like Michigan. I'm going to bring... Sean, I'm going to bring states in that are not in the equation. You know, they always talk about the 5 states.
That came in that you had 71%.
Yeah, 71%.
Another one had you at 65%. Well, let me deal with one other source of opposition to you. There's been all these groups meeting to stop Trump. Sea Island, Georgia, out in California. Eric Erickson had a group, and this is what they said. I'm a conservative. I believe in limited government, free markets, and free trade. Donald Trump does not. Now, we've done a lot of interviews together, right? We've done a lot of interviews.
A lot.
I want to go through the list of things you have told me in these interviews and tell me at the end, tell me if you agree.
Okay,
you are pro-life.
Yes.
You are pro-Second Amendment.
Yes.
We know where you stand on immigration.
Yes.
Until we can vet radical Muslims that would infiltrate the Syrian population, they don't get in.
You can't do it. Gotta figure it out.
You said to me, you will repeal Obamacare and replace it with health care savings accounts.
Correct.
You also went on to say you will rebuild the military.
I will totally rebuild. We're going to have a very, very strong military.
Everybody in Phoenix knows you will fix the broken VA system, especially here.
Especially here.
You have told me in interviews that you will be energy independent.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, you have said you will eliminate Common Core and put education back to the states. Okay. Now, they made a statement and they said you are not those things. So I want to ask you this. On all of those items I just mentioned, to those people that say publicly or not, even Ted Cruz, Eric Erickson, or any other conservative, do you say on every issue that you have told me in the past that that is your solemn pledge and your solemn vow that if you become president, you will follow that agenda?
100%. Now, and let me just... 100%. But I have to say, the biggest reason, which is stupidity, the biggest reason they say I'm not conservative, and I don't even care about labels. You know, Jeb Bush used to stand up, he is not a conservative. And I'd say, what's wrong with this man? By the way, I don't think I'm going to get his endorsement either. No. Who cares? But look, the biggest thing that they would say, I'm not a free trader. I am a free trader. The biggest thing, those things mostly, I think, for the most part, right? I never get really hit on those things. The one thing, I want smart trade, not even fair trade. I want smart trade. When we have a trade deficit with China of $505 billion, when we have a trade deficit with, as an example, with Mexico of $58 billion a year, trade deficit. Now, they all talk about the wall. You know, we're going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for the wall. And everybody... And Sean, all of these politicians, they all come up. First they said, you'll never build a wall. Now the other day I heard Cruz get up and say, we're going to build the wall. It's like, you know, where did he come from? My wife heard it. She said, could you come here? Would you listen to this? He'd never heard it before. But now all of a sudden he wants to build a wall. They don't know how to build a wall. They don't know how to start. You know, they wanted to build a wall 15 years ago. They couldn't get their environmental impact statements.
But I think this is important.
But John, the one thing, the reason they're going to pay for the wall, when we have a trade deficit of 58, because they say, you can't get Mexico to pay. By the way, as sure as you're sitting there, as sure as almost everybody, they have standing room in the back. But as sure, I love you too. But here's the thing. When you have a trade deficit, Sean, of think of this, Mexico, $58 billion, and you have companies moving in, Carrier's moving, Nabisco's moving, Ford is moving, everybody, I mean, everybody's moving into Mexico. We're not going to have anything left. Mexico is a small version of China. So, but here's the thing.
They're not going to write a check.
You're going to
negotiate a deal.
They don't have to write a check. When you have $58 billion in trade deficits, right? And you have a $10 billion wall. It's going to cost $10 billion. It's going to be 1,000. You don't need 2,000. It's 2,000 miles. You need 1,000 because we have natural, you know, barriers. But when you have 10 billion and you have 58 billion, anybody in this audience can figure that one out really easy. Okay, really easy.
Just to follow up on that last question. So anytime, because I've interviewed so much, and I go on my radio show, and then people call in and they repeat what some of the other candidates say or some of these groups say, and I say, well, I've interviewed him. And this is what he tells me. You're saying this is it. This is your agenda.
That's it.
That's your vow.
That's it. Except with trade. Except with trade.
Then why do they say that's not?
Well, they hit me more in trade than anything else.
Then why do they say you're not a conservative?
These people, they talk about eminent domain. If you don't have eminent domain, you can't build a road, you can't build a hospital, you can't build a highway. I see these commercials, and I have to tell you, because there's one group, they're like a sick group. They're like a sick. It's called Club for Growth. I never heard of them. I have to tell the story. So they come. They're like extortionists. They come, and a friend of mine calls up, could you meet with Club for Growth? I said, what is that? Don't forget, I've been in business. I'm not a politician. I've been doing this for 8 months. How am I doing? Am I doing okay? I'm doing like you'd be doing. I'm their messenger. So I get a call from a friend of mine, wants me to meet with Club for Growth. I say, what's that? It's a conservative group. Do I have to? He said, please do it. It's a favor to me. So this guy comes up. He was a former congressman. Comes up, asked me for $1 million. I said, what are you? What do you do? He asked me for $1 million. Very nicely, I turned him down. Then he writes me a letter, which I have. Turned him down. After that, they do commercial after commercial. If I would have given him $1 million, it would have been fine. Okay? Yeah. But I'm glad I didn't.
Could I have $1 million? No, sorry.
Yes, you can have. You don't need it.
I don't need it.